kitchen. We're going to make mustard and wine salmon. We've got our Pacific salmon. We've got our mustard, just simple mustard. We've got our red wine vinegars, which is really what we're going to be using. I use a liquid smoke a little bit, Frank's Red Hot, and Worcester sauce. This is blazing blends. Some garlic powder, little onion powder, and a little bit of sea salt, and of course pepper. So what we're going to do is show you how to make that, and we'll also do we're also going to put it on top of a bed of jasmine rice. All right, first off, we're going to be using this Pacific salmon fillet. I like just big salmon fillets. Sometimes they have the skin on them. If they do, that's fine. I always make sure that the skin is angled down, because the skin part I'm not going to eat. I want all my toppings essentially on the part of the meat that I'm actually going to use. So they come in this package. Some packages you have to cut open. Other packages you have to just tear open, which is like this. And I put it on top of a layer of foil. Here in the West, it's so dry when you cook. One thing I always hated about fish is that it was always dry. So if you cover it and wrap it around with foil, then it doesn't dry out. So I always put it on top of foil. This works also for the grill. I've used this on the grill. A good way to do fish on grill, because otherwise grilled fish tends to get dried out. It also keeps the grill fairly clean. So we'll slide it out on top of our nice thing here. Now technically there's several, this is actually still frozen, and there's several fillets here. I don't really worry about it. I'm going to cook it all at once, and then I can take them apart later. Now one thing you have to be careful with when you're working from home is sometimes your kitties, right over here, really like the fish smell. Hi kitty. And also your dogs. Dogs like fish smell too. Their noses are going off. So because of that you can't just leave it open. The first thing I do is make sure that there's a little bit of a bowl around my fish to make sure all my toppings stay on the fish itself. So I'll fold one end like this, and I'll take this and I'll fold the other end. This is a little bit too long. Cut this off to what it needs to be. Take the other end, make a bowl out of it. So you make a flat spot, and then you fold it over so that it doesn't leak out all the good stuff you're putting inside of it. Now, being frozen, this does take a little bit longer to cook. So another reason you need this foil, otherwise it'll be dry like jerky by the time you need it. So we're going to make a bowl. Now we've made a bowl so that everything we put in here will actually stay on top of the fish. So I sort of mixed the whole stuff together. This time I'm going to make a sauce and just spread it over the top. I'm going to make my sauce in this bowl. Okay. So I'm going to start with a little red wine vinegar. Red wine vinegar, or the other thing you can use for fish that works very good is lemon sauce. But some type of a tart liquid makes a very good sauce for fish. It seems to break down the fats better. Then I'm going to put in a little bit of mustard, not a lot. Mustard goes a long way. So just about, there's how much vinegar I have, and about that much actual mustard. Doesn't look very good now. I'm also going to put in a little bit of Worcester, or depending on what you want to call it. So, handful of drops of Worcester, just enough to make it brown. And now this one you got to be careful with. This is liquid smoke. I like this because it gives it a nice smoky flavor for my fish, almost like you've smoked the fish. But a little bit of this goes a long way. So you go 1, 2, 3, just a couple squirts, just enough to get a good smoke flavor. That's it. You don't want to overdo it on that. And then just for the heck of it, a little bit of a kick. I like a little kick on there. Nothing major. Frank's sauce isn't too hot. So a little bit of hot sauce. I'm using Frank sauce. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 for good luck. Alright. So the one thing I'm going to do directly on the meat, though, without the sauce, I'm going to salt it and I'm going to put garlic on it. So this is a sea salt spreader and it grinds it as you go. So you want, now how much you salt it depends on how much you like salt. Realize that depending on the salt you're using depends on how much you use. Sea salt is usually a little bit stronger than your standard table salt. Okay. Now, when you cook it though, it will go down a little bit. So realize that. And then I'm going to put a nice layering of garlic because garlic always helps. It smells good. Always like the smell of garlic going on food. Okay, there's a little bit of garlic. Okay, to put my sauce on that I've created, I'm going to get a spoon and I'm going to mix it up so that it's good and smoothed out. You want it somewhat mixed together as much as possible. You want to make sure that the mustard is spread out fairly well. When you cook it, it will break down some more. So, once you have your sauce done, you actually just pour it over the top. Make sure that everything is on top of the fish. So you pull up all of your foil to make sure it stays on top of the fish and doesn't run off. Nice even smattering of that mustard will help. Now this will break down when you actually cook it, so it won't really be a harsh mustard taste. Then at the end I put a little bit of onion powder over the whole thing. Now with that liquid in here, it will keep the fish very moist so that it won't dry out. So now the next thing I do is I fold the foil over and seal it as good as I can. The better you seal it, the more the fish will stay moist. Okay, now this is not quite wide enough for this fish, it looks like. We'll still do what we can to try to keep it folded together. So this will fold here. Again, the more you can keep it dry, keep it together, the more moist your fish will be. There. Okay, so now we have made a little bowl to actually cook the fish into. Now what we need to do is set the oven, or if you're doing this outside, you should have turned on your oven and or your grill before now. So, and we're going to put it at 350 is good. Depends. If it's something 350 might actually be a little bit too hot. We'll put it at 300. You don't want to cook it very fast because you don't want it to burn. But then again, with this liquid in here, it's less likely to burn anyway. So I set my oven to about 300, or about that same thing when you're actually grilling this fish. So this fish will take about a half an hour once it's gotten up to 300 degrees. Okay, now we're going to actually make some jasmine rice. I'm using Mahatma jasmine rice. You have to be careful with jasmine rice because jasmine rice has a very light taste. You don't want to overwhelm it with what you put in. You want to still be able to taste that. So all I'm really going to be putting in is butter and maybe a little salt. I put a little, use olive oil in there to make sure it doesn't stick together. First we have to put some water in the pot. And put that much water, and I will put enough, that much water does good enough for most two people dinner, so about two persons worth. I want the flames just on the edge of the pot. And I'm going to pour some jasmine rice in there. This one has a nice little piece of tape, which means you can reseal it. Here we have our rice. We're going to pour it in our pan. Doesn't matter if the heat's on already or not. You just want it in there before the heat gets really to it. You're going to want to put a top on this rice. If you don't put a top on the rice, then it won't steam as well, and it'll actually boil all the water away. So you have to be careful. You're going to turn this on high. Once it gets to a boil, you have to turn it down, otherwise it's going to blow up all over your stove. So leave it close for now. Later you're going to crack it open and turn down the heat. Alright, now you wait 20 minutes for the fish. Okay, that's too far. Now what you have to do is crack it open and turn down the heat a bit. You want it to boil and steam out, but you don't want it to be going over. That's not good. Let that sit there for like 20 minutes and it should be good. Wait until the rice is actually soft. The only way to do that is by tasting it. Looks like it's almost done. Let's go ahead and check it. Take a spoon, cool it off. Last thing you want to do is put that scalding hot stuff in your mouth. Then you taste it. That's done. It's soft, not crunchy at all. After letting it sit for 5 minutes, just to soak up a little bit more water, what we need to do is drain all the extra water out. Use the top to strain it. Leave a little bit of a crack in the bottom, and then drain as much water out as you can without losing rice. You want the rice to be fairly dry. So that's what it looks like at the end. Very little water left at the time. What we want to do is season this rice. I start with butter because everything's better with butter. This is a quarter or half stick, and just for fun, I'm going to put the whole thing in. I like cholesterol. The other thing we're going to be putting in is just a little bit of salt. I tend to like the sea salt a little bit, just to bring out some flavor. Not a lot of flavor, not a lot of salt. You want to keep it a little low, but just a little bit, so that those salted butter, so you don't want to get all half hyper with it. Now we need to mix it up. You need to break this butter into multiple pieces so that it will mix throughout the rice. The heat of the rice will definitely melt the butter in a certain amount of time. Then you mix it all up, make sure that there's no spots with a bunch of butter, and just a nice even mixture. And this is going to be the base for your fish. Don't beat it up too hard. You don't want a rice mush. You just want a nice soft rice with butter on it. And that's how you make the rice. Next we'll go back to the fish. Fish is almost done. It's been almost 20 minutes. Let's check the fish. You should be hearing a sizzle inside of that nice little pouch you made. Alright, let's take the fish out and check it. Should be finished by now. Should be good and cooked. all the way through. I'm going to open this up just a little bit and peek at the fish and make sure it's no longer red. It should be more of a slightly red. It should be good and cooked inside. So you open it up and what you're looking for is a nice red, slightly red, and it falls apart real easy. So it looks like it's good and finished. Okay, let's put it on the plate now. Open up our nice little pouch. There's a lot of juice in here which you'll probably want to pour on top later. So you try to not actually let it spill out. So we're going to take a spatula. So first we're going to put a layer of rice to put the fish onto. So we'll put a nice layer of jasmine rice with butter. So just about enough for 2 people. So you need to slide the spatula underneath the piece of fish, which broke apart very easily, and slide it off very quickly, very carefully. Cut it there. And I'm going to slide this piece off, and we'll have some left over for tomorrow. So to finish this off, I'm going to put a little bit of olive on top, a little bit of black pepper. Let's start with black pepper. Just a smattering of it. Just enough to be interesting. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is take an olive, 1 each. First you got to eat one. Well, that's a good olive. If it doesn't make your face crush, ain't a good olive. So, take another olive, put one on this plate, and one on this plate. And I'm going to slice it up and put it on top of the fish. Cut it in this case 3 pieces. I'll put it on top of the fish. Wow. Be careful, some of these olives weren't pitted right. Pit. So in that case we'll just put 2. So this is how you make mustard and wine salmon. Thanks for watching.